What's up, everyone? I can't contain my excitement in today's video, and I know I say I'm excited every time, but I am genuinely pumped for today's video. I want to share it straight up front, no beating around the bush. As of Saturday, June 19th, I'm starting to host virtual coaching clinic workshops. And these virtual clinics are going to start at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and then at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. They're going to be about 40 or 45 minutes. I'm limiting it to a group of 10 people at most, and I'm going to host them on Zoom so that I can actually coach you guys while I teach you. So now you're probably wondering, okay, what are these clinics all about? Where can I sign up, right? You're chomping at the bit. I know you are. So here's how it's all going to work. 8 a.m. Again, this might shift a little bit depending on the number of people that sign up for each clinic, but what I'm expecting is 8 a.m. is going to be focused on movement. And then at 9 a.m., I'm going to focus on fitness. You can join both, one, however you want. All of the details about how to sign up, the clinic information, the cost, everything is available in the description section below this video. And then you can go to the link and sign up for it on my website. I'm actually very excited. I think this is going to allow me to be even more hands-on and give even more attention than if we were together at a club. Now, you might think like, come on, man, like that's not possible. What are you talking about? Well, the truth is, if I was at a club and there were, let's say, 8 people spread across 4 courts, by the time I get from court 1 to court 4, several minutes have gone by. Over here, I can literally be watching you guys simultaneously, which will allow me to give more timely feedback and result in better results for you guys. So I'm actually very excited. Here's one benefit of COVID. You and I get to work together, arguably from halfway across the world, which truthfully, I didn't anticipate a year and a half ago. So with that in mind, what I wanted to do was give you guys a flavor of what these videos are going to look like and what these coaching sessions are going to look like. I was going to give you a little flavor, but I over-delivered, I guess. I got too excited. I went and I recorded longer fitness session and a slightly more in-depth movement session than I had originally planned. So I hope you enjoy this. It's a good day for all of us, it seems. And check out these videos. I've based everything out of my garage because unfortunately squash courts are not yet open here in Toronto in Canada. So I had to get creative and make do with the space that I had. And truthfully, it actually works really well. I think you guys are going to see that yourselves. So check it out. The videos are going to begin in a minute, and I hope you enjoy them. This is what the clinics are going to look like, except with a handful of people asking questions and everyone learning together. I can't wait for it. I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you in the next video. What's up, everyone? Thank you for joining me here. We are in my garage. This is the closest thing I have to a squash court these days. So let us go through what I promised you. Now, what do you do at the beginning of every workout? Warm up. And what kind of warm up? Static or dynamic? I hope you said dynamic. So let's check this out. I'm going to take you guys through a dynamic warm up. I will give you guys suggestions on how much time to spend on each exercise. There are many ways to do a dynamic warm up. I will give you a flavor of it. And I have a whole program dedicated to it on my website called the Ultimate Warm-Up Program. You guys can check that out if you want more. But for now, let's get into this one. First things first, while we're doing it, I'm going to teach you why you want to, kind of what the objectives of a warm-up are. So number 1, you want to get your heart rate up. Gradually, you want to raise your body temperature. You want to mobilize your joints. You want to activate your muscles. And eventually, you want to take it up to game speed before you actually start the game. This serves a mental purpose of if you have a repetitive, consistent warm-up, it helps you get into the right frame of mind, helps you raise your energy emotionally, physically, in all those aspects to your optimal level. So the warm-up is not just physical, it's psychological as well. So the way I like to do it, I like to start off with a little skipping and hopping. And while we're doing that, we're going to make circles with our shoulders, with our arms. So I'm going to show you from the side so you can see what it looks like. I'm hopping and I'm making circles moving forward. I'm going to do this for about 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds. And then at that point, I'm going to switch my circle directions to going backwards. And now I'm rotating backwards. I'm going to do this for another 10, 15 seconds, at which point I can move my arms front and back like this. So now you're starting to work your lower body, your ankles, your calves, your Achilles tendon, which is critical for explosiveness, and your shoulders are feeling nice and mobilized. From there, let's do a little dynamic stretch. So you're going to be on one leg, you're going to hold one foot, so now you're getting stretch in the quad, and then with the other one, you're doing what's called a single leg deadlift. So you're just reaching forward. You might try to lose your balance. Just try to reset yourself and reach. I'm going to try to show you from the side as well. And reach. You can do this about 5 times per side. So I'm doing 5 reps here on my left leg, and then I would switch. I'm not going to do all 5, but I would switch and then do 5 reps on my right leg. You're activating all the little muscles in your feet, in your ankles. You're also working several other muscles throughout your hamstrings, your glutes, and much more, depending on how much you're bending your knee, how much you, et cetera, et cetera. The next thing we'll do is let us mobilize our hips and our upper back. So what we can do here is get into a little lunge. You can keep your, I'll show you sideways, you can keep your back foot, back knee off the ground. So opposite arm, opposite leg are down. So my left leg is on the floor, right hand comes down, and then all I'm doing is I am rotating up and holding for 3 seconds, and then I'm gonna come down and hold for 3. So let me show you from the front. If I'm here, I'm going to rotate up. I'm mobilizing my upper back, my thoracic spine, and my hips. And then I'm coming down, bringing my elbow towards the ground, holding for 3. You can do that 5 times on one side, whatever is comfortable for you. You might want to do more if you really like it. And then you switch and you do the same thing for several repetitions on the other side. Again, a few seconds, about 3 seconds or so, you can hold in each position and repeat. Let's do the last 3 seconds here. Okay, let's do another little activation drill for all of the explosive parts of our body as well as our heart rate. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a little skipping run where I'm using my arms as though I'm running. I'm staying on the balls of my feet and I'm just skipping over here. So you can do this. You can move depending on how much space you have, or you can be completely stationary. You can do this for 30 seconds. After that, let's do a little jumping jack drill or a variation to jumping jacks. So you can just do the traditional jumping jacks over here. You can do this for 30 seconds. Another one that I like is a crossover jumping jack. So your right foot is going to go over your right hand, over your left hand. So when right foot is over, right hand is above. Then you go to neutral, and then your left foot goes over and the left hand comes above. And then neutral. Here, 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 here. And then you are basically repeating this for 30 seconds. I'm not going for the full 30. This is more of a demo and to give you guys some things to do. Now remember, if you are not used to jumping and hopping as much, you want to be easy with these exercises and not do a ton of them because your body's not going to be accustomed to them, and that could lead to injury if you do too much if you're not used to it. Okay, from there, let's do a little hip mobility drill. So what we're going to do is and it's your feet and ankles as well that you're activating the muscles within. You're going to stand on one leg, and then you're going to pretend that there's a hurdle over here beside you, and you're going to try to keep your upper body relatively straight and step over this hurdle. You can do this 4 times or so per side. I'll show you from the side so you can see how it looks like. Here, across, and back, and back. There you go. Perfect. So now you can do 4 reps on one side, 4 reps on the other side. You're starting to activate and mobilize your hips. We've gotten the heart rate up gradually, the body temperature is rising gradually, all of the little explosive muscles in our Achilles tendon, our calves are being activated, our feet are being activated. Let's get the shoulders and also stretch out the hip flexor at the same time. So what you can do is you can put your knee on the ground if you're on a soft surface, or you can put a mat, and then you can put your hands, so my left knee is in front, my hands are basically lined up with my left knee, and then I'm going to take my left hand and pretend that there's a wall right beside me, and I'm trying to just take my hand in a circle. So let me show you from a slightly different angle. I'm here, and I'm trying to rotate my hand and get it all the way around without turning my body too much. So the key here is you start off with your palm facing in, so my palm is facing my body, and then when I come up here vertically overhead, I rotate my palm so it faces away from my body, and I bring it down and around. And then same thing would hold true on the other side. So now if my right leg is forward in the lunge, my hands are lined up with my right knee, and then my right hand is going to go up and around and back. And then I can repeat this again as many times as you want, really. Say 4 or 5 times. You're continuing to stretch your hip flexor and you're mobilizing your shoulders. Let's do one more mobility drill. So you're kind of getting into a moderately wide stance, and then from here you are swinging your hands side to side, letting your arms go, letting the momentum drive them, and you're shifting your weight side to side. So it's almost like you look like a speed skater, and you are keeping your back bent. You can do that for 15, 20 seconds. Again, there's no fixed piece when it comes to this. It's what feels good for your body. From there, let's activate the glutes a little bit. So again, I'd recommend you have a mat. I forgot to bring my mat, so I'm just gonna get on the ground. And what you can do is a glute bridge. So you can lay down on the ground, you can put your feet, so there's about a 90-degree angle at your knees, and then you're gonna lift your bum off the ground, and then squeeze your glute muscles in and hold this for about 25 seconds. So it might be easy to just hold here, but then actively squeeze the muscles to really get that contraction in the glutes. You hold for 25, and then you can come up. If you're advanced and you want to activate your hamstrings, if you walk your feet out a little bit, and then you go back up, you're going to feel way more of a burn in the hamstrings now, which is the back of the thighs, the back of the legs. So you can do that as another exercise. I think my shirt's probably kind of messy now. That's okay. So now you've activated your hamstrings, you got your calves, you have your glutes. For the quads, let's do a few light lunges. So let's start off with a lateral lunge. So we're just gonna take a little skip and then do what's called a lateral lunge. So my knee stays over my toes. I'm pushing my bum back when I get into this. So I'm not here, I'm here. And then I skip and I repeat on the other side. So you can do 10 lunges like this. Quads are gonna start getting fired up. Heart rate is gonna stay nice and high gradually. When you're done 10, switch to a regular lunge, and then you're gonna turn and hold for just a second in whichever direction. So my right leg is forward, so I'm turning to my right side. I push, I shuffle, I lunge. Left leg is in front, I turn to my left side. So I can repeat this 10 times. I'll do it a couple more and I'll show you what it looks like from the side. So if I'm here, lunge, turn, lunge, turn, lunge, turn, lunge, turn, and then you can come back to neutral. So now from here, before you get on the squash court, you want to increase the speed of your movement, and ideally you get your weapon of choice. So from here, I'd highly encourage you, swing your racket. And you notice when I'm swinging, I'm transitioning my weight side to side. So that's how you would actually want to hit the ball. You want to just loosen all of this up nice and gradually. You can then start stepping in and practicing your swing with a particular step. So I'm stepping forward with my left leg, swinging my forehand. This is a closed stance swing. If I transition, keep my forehand, but transition to my right leg, I'm now swinging with an open stance. So, I'm going to practice these because now I'm lunging and I'm swinging. So it's giving me exactly what I'm going to be doing on the squash court. Now I can switch to my backhand, and this time I'll start with my right leg because it'll be closed stance. So I switch my feet. And again, when you're doing all this, you want to think about your technique. So if you watch, if I finish my swing, my racket is nice and open, my wrist is cocked. I'm trying to set up and swing the way I actually want to swing when I get on court. And I'm stepping in and out of my shot because that's the kind of rhythm I want to have when I'm on court. And then finally, I'm going to step with my left leg and do an open stance, backhand. And you can do as many of these as you want, 5, 7, 10. The key is you don't want to be gassed and exhausted when you get into your match. So when you finish something like this, then you want to take a minute, 2 minutes, maybe even 3 minutes lighter rest. Your heart rate and everything's still going to be up, but you're going to give your body enough time to recover. From here, you can then transition to slightly harder, faster movements. I'm not going to do those yet because I want to give you guys a little bit of stuff on ghosting. So now when it comes to ghosting is all about movement, right? Hopefully everyone knows. When you're on the tee, let's start with step one. When you're on the tee, you're always in your ready position. So what a lot of players do is their rackets are down here, they're too upright. And if you think of any athlete, any sprinter, or what you might consider an athletic position, no one ever starts like this and then expects to be fast or move explosively. You're always slightly crouched, you're bent, and then for us with squash, you want to be ready. So your racket, you want it to be nice and set here in a good, effective, ready position. Because from here, you are now bent at your ankles, you're bent at your knees, you're bent at your hips. And this is this idea of what's called triple flexion, because as you uncoil from these 3 joints, that's how you're going to generate power. So you always want to be slightly bent. Your racket is always ready, because from here, it's very easy and quick to get across and be able to volley the ball. If you're down here, you're spending half a second just to get to this point and then go for the volley from there. So critical to be in an effective ready position, and you don't want your weight to be on your heels, then you're going to fall back. You want your weight to be neutral and slightly more on the balls of your feet, because from here is where you can then start exploding and be quick to make your movements. So I'm just going to focus on one element of movement, and the goal of these virtual clinics is going to be to dig into each of these elements step by step, demonstrate, explain, answer your questions, and then give you guys drills and coach you, because I have my laptop set up. I might even have 2 laptops set up so I can see everyone clearly, and coach you guys by watching your video as you do the exercises. So basic movement, there are many elements. There's stepping, there's flow, there's spacing, there's the timing of your movement, there's open stance versus closed stance, there's your foot drag, there's your knee angle, there's a ton of things, right? I'm just going to start with one basic thing, which is just stepping, and I'm going to focus on one corner and just show you what that might look like. So let's pretend this is my tee over here. If I want to move to the front right corner, which is basically where you're looking at me, I can practice closed stance movement or open stance movement. So I'm going to practice closed stance movement first, which means I need to land on my left leg. This is the way traditionally athletes have moved for decades. In the more recent decade, 2 decades, people have been going way more open stance. So here's closed stance. So I'm going to try to go in 3 steps because I'm focused on efficiency of stepping. And this doesn't always have to be 3, it could be 2, it could be 1, it could be more dynamic. This is just a way of training. You could take 1, 2, 3, swing. 1, 2, 3, back. 1, 2, 3, swing. 1, 2, 3, back. If I want to land and end on my left leg, I need to begin my first step with my left leg because I'm going in 3 steps. So it's going to be left, right, left, swing, left, right, left, back, left, right, left, swing, left, right, left, back, left, right, left, swing, left, right, left, back. Did you notice I was always slightly crouched so that I'm practicing being low and athletic and agile, and then I'm focused on my stepping. Now I could go open stance into this front right corner as well, and this would look as follows. Now open stance is right leg in the front, so I'm going to lead with my right to get there in 3 steps. So right, left, right, swing, right, left, right, back, right, left, right, swing, right, left, right, back, right, left, right, swing, right, left, right, back. That would be closed stance, open stance. One more thing to consider about ghosting is the shot that you are hitting. So right now, in my mind, I was hitting straight drives. In both cases, I could go and practice a counter drop. I could go and practice a cross-court lob. I could go practice a trickle boast. I could go practice a hold drive. I could go practice anything that I want. A cross-court, doesn't matter. But the key is that you want to have a certain focus, a particular focus when you are practicing, so that you're starting to now move a certain way. So let me give you an example of what I mean. Let's say I want to hit a cross court. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to go close stance, hitting a cross court. Watch what happens to my face once I hit the cross court. And I'd encourage you guys to think about why. So here I go. Left, right, left, cross, and back. Left, right, left, cross, and back. Left, right, left, cross, and back. So if you noticed, I turned my head because I was following the ball after I hit it. So when you're ghosting, you want to genuinely mimic exactly the setup and the things you would do when you're actually playing squash. So guys, I hope you found value in that. You can do this exact same practice for every part of the court. Generally speaking, the court's divided into 6 areas. The front 2 corners, the sides across the tee, and then the back corners. You can also get mid sections in between the 3 areas on one side of the court. So you can practice, and you can practice different shots in each of those positions. So your swing is going to look different in each case. Your movement back to the tee, your position, all of that's going to look different. And these are all the sorts of things that I'm going to get you guys to practice when we train together. So now let's jump into some fitness work for you guys. I'm just going to put my racket back and get a sip of water. It's quite warm today over here in Toronto. I have to carry this jug around with me everywhere. I'd encourage you to get a sip right now as well. So I'm just looking at my notes here on the laptop, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you guys through a program that I created. It's about between 12 and 16 weeks, depending on how long it takes. I'm actually taking you through the foundations, step 1 of the program that I created, and it's designed to be used without any weights, without any equipment. You can certainly add it, and I have a little home gym. So if any of you guys have equipment and you want to learn how to do things, reach out. We can set some sessions up. But the first thing we're going to do is an exercise that's just getting you used to opening up your hips and staying bouncy and light on your feet. So all we're going to do is we're going to do hopping, but we're going to turn every time we hop. So you're coming to the middle because this is kind of your neutral T position, and then you're hopping to the side. And you come to the middle and you hop to the side. Now, why am I trying to do this? Because if you watch pros, when they go into back corners, or anywhere really, even if you're on the tee and you want to go to the side, you never just move like this. You always accelerate and you rotate your hips. So we have to get used to this hip rotation movement. And when you go to the back, you'll notice that most pros who like to attack and be aggressive, which these days is everyone, they'll move across to look for the volley, and then they'll push back. But you see the first movement is the hips opening up before you move back. So that's why this drill is so critical, because it starts getting you light on your feet and rotating your hips. So I'd encourage you to do this for 30 seconds. And that would be one set in 30 seconds. And then you would go to the next exercise. Or you can do 2 or 3 sets of these after 45 to 60 second rest. Again, all of this comes back to your conditioning, so I'm going to leave it at your discretion. Please don't hold me accountable. This is going to help you, but you have to be wise about how you use these exercises. Now, the next exercise on the list is a fundamental one that is always neglected. Truthfully, I've neglected this for many years of my life. There's a muscle at the front of our legs called the anterior tibialis, basically the shin. And this muscle is a very important muscle for deceleration. And when I say deceleration, I mean in squash, in any sport, every time you move, every time we lunge, we're having to stop. So every time I'm stopping here, this muscle is getting activated as well. And when this muscle is not trained, it becomes really weak. And over time, this can lead to knee issues and many other things. So this is just something that stabilizes the knee. A very simple way of doing this is to go onto your heels, and then you're just gonna walk. So I'll show you here so you can see my feet more easily. And then I'm just gonna stay on my heels, and I'm just gonna walk. Now you can do this for 20 seconds, for 30 seconds, for 60 seconds. Totally depends on your level of fitness and conditioning. You wanna start, see, like, I don't know how long it's probably been 15, 20 seconds. I'm starting to feel a little bit of fatigue over here in my shins. And if I touch them, they're nice and firm. So you wanna do this while you're nice and firm. So your shins are firm, and so that you start getting a burning sensation in here. Now, if you're not wearing shoes, one thing you can also do is while you're on your heels, you can think about spreading your toes apart and stay on your heels and walk with your toes totally spread apart, because now you're activating all of the little muscles in your feet as well. And that's going to be really helpful. So I don't know how long it's been, but I'm feeling more of a burn here. So I'm going to stop. That would be one set of these heel walks. You can do these again for 2 sets or 3 sets and go from there. I'm just looking at my notes. So the next one is, this is actually a somewhat challenging exercise. So again, based on your level of experience, I would encourage you to do one of the following 2 variations. So variation 1, you're basically doing a hop into a slightly wider squat, and then you're coming back, and then hop and back. And you're trying to stay on the balls of your feet, especially on this middle hop. You don't want to be on your heels, and then you can land a little bit wider. You don't want to be here, but you kind of want to be neutral, and you're going back and forth. You can do this for 30 seconds. If you are advanced, and I would not recommend you try this if you haven't several years of experience, you're gonna hop, switch to a lunge, switch, back to neutral. So it's wide, in, wide, in, and then middle. Wide, in, here. Wide, lunge, lunge, middle. Wide, lunge, lunge, middle. Now the benefit of this is that you're getting into the lunges. You're having to absorb more force because you're hopping, which is why this is advanced. And you're getting your heart rate up, and your brain has to work because now you're focused on coordinating and executing simultaneously. So you can do this, like I said, for 30 seconds. You can do a couple of sets of them if you want, rest for about a minute, or as long as you need in between. Next exercise. This is a tricky one. You have, I shouldn't say tricky. I like this one because it burns like crazy. A lot of people don't like that. You can do this 2 ways. 1, you can do it straight on a flat surface, or 2, you can do it with your foot elevated on something. So I'm going to show you both. I'm just going to bring this box and set this up as a little platform for myself for elevation. And all I'm doing is I'm going to, if I'm on the ground, I'm just in a lunge like this, and I'm going to spend 15 seconds in a lunge with my knee behind my heel. So see, my knee's lined up behind my heel. I'm going to spend 15 seconds over here because this is a squash specific angle, as you know, based on my videos. And then I'm going to spend 15 seconds here. This is something that people say don't do. Now my knee is in front of my heel, but it really works one of the muscles here, and it increases the integrity of your joint. So that would be 15 seconds back, 15 seconds forward, 30 seconds total. That's one set. You can do 2 or 3 sets of this after a break, but you're always going to do one leg and then the other leg equally. Now I'll show you the other leg with elevation. This is more challenging. So I would put my back foot up on something, spread myself out, and then I'm going to drop down. And what I can do is, again, step 1, 15 seconds, bringing my knee behind my heel, 15 seconds, bringing my knee in front of my heel. And again, you're going to get a solid burn in your legs. Once you've done both legs, that's when you rest for 45 or 60 seconds, and then you can repeat it. Or the other option was go exercise to exercise like a circuit, take a 2-minute break at the end, and then if you want, repeat it, or that's it. Next exercise. What we are going to do here is one thing that I showed you guys in the dynamic warm-up. Here you guys can see I'm sweating a bit. It's like 30, 33 or 34 degrees outside, and the garage is humid. So let's do this one. Okay, so this is the same one I showed you in the dynamic warm-up, but it's a great exercise. You can do it for more repetitions this time. You are going to hold one of your legs, so your quad's getting stretched out. And this time, you're going to come here, and you're going to hold this for 2 or 3 seconds. And then you're going to come back to neutral. If you want something slightly more challenging, instead of holding the quad the entire time, you then let go of the quad, and you come here, and you hold for 3 seconds. Now, when you're in this position, you're now working the hip flexor muscle in the leg that's up. And the higher you raise this knee, the more your other leg's glute has to fire to stabilize your body. And then you get your foot again, and then you come back here, and you hold for 1, 2, 3. And then you come here, and 1, 2, 3. So you can repeat that for about 30 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds on one side, and then you repeat the exact same thing on the other side. Next exercise. So now you're going to work those hamstrings. Now you have a couple of ways of doing this. I showed you guys the glute bridge where you pull your feet back, you move your feet forward. So let me demonstrate that for you once again. You're going to be here, you're laying down, and then you move your feet a little further in front so you have greater than a 90-degree angle at your knee. And then you basically lift up. And if you really want to challenge your hamstrings, you can think about pulling your heels in towards your bum, and you're really going to fire those hamstrings. Then you can hold this for 25 seconds. Another way of doing this is if you have a couch or a box, you can simply put your feet up on the couch, and then you raise up, and now you're really getting those hamstrings as well. And then another interesting, in my opinion, interesting and advanced way of doing this, which is a bit trickier. You get into this lunge, and then you actively, here you're working a whole bunch. You're working your hip flexors, you're working hamstrings. I wouldn't recommend this one. You know what? I'm not going to show you because it's just going to get distracting. Focus on those 2 variations, and you're going to get a ton of value out of it. 25 seconds in each one makes one set, and then you can repeat that again as we've discussed. And then one thing I want you guys to do for your rotator cuff. So the rotator cuff is comprised of several muscles over here around your shoulder blade. It gets easily injured in a lot of squash players, overhead kind of athletes, throwing athletes, racket athletes that go overhead. So one way to do this, and they actually have devices that help you do this, but I find that it actually works quite well even without a device. I just take my hand and keeping my elbow, not letting my elbow flail around too much, but I'm moving my hand, and I'm trying to move my hand really explosively like this. So it looks like as I'm doing this, my shoulder's having to stabilize that movement, and all of my rotator cuff muscles are burning up. If you get comfortable with this kind of movement and speed, you can adjust it So you kind of go higher and higher. You can go overhead. You can come back, play around with different movements. So I can already feel some tension through my shoulder and my rotator cuff by doing that. And I would recommend that you balance it out on both arms for a certain amount of time. And you can do it for 15, 20, 30 seconds, whatever you want. Again, there's no fixed time prescription because it's going to take everyone a different amount of time to get that burning sensation. So this is one that I would highly recommend for your rotator cuff muscles. And you can actually do this as part of your dynamic warm-up as well. And then the last thing I'd encourage you guys to do is some extended skipping. Again, if you're deconditioned, don't do too much of this because your body and your Achilles tendon and your joints aren't going to be used to it. But if you have some experience, I would encourage you to either skipping or hopping. If you have a jump rope or a skipping rope, you can easily use a skipping rope. Otherwise, you can just hop by putting a little marker on the floor. You don't even need a marker. What I would encourage is a baseline. You can start with 15 seconds per variation. You can go up to 30. And then if you're comfortable with 30, you can keep going up to 35, then 40, then 45 per variation. And there are 3 variations. Variation 1 is simply a 2-footed hop, back and forth. Not meant to be very explosive, just meant to be continuous. You are on the balls of your feet. You are not on your heels. And you do this for, like I said, 15 seconds, 20, 25, 30, all the way up to 45 or even 60 seconds, but start low. Then you switch to a side-to-side hop. And stop when you get to like a good burn in the calves. So you might get like a 8 out of 10 burn in the calves. That's when you want to stop. You do this for the same amount of time as you did the first variation, and then you can switch to a little front back variation. And then you do this for the same amount of time as you did both of the previous variations. If you do this on a regular basis, I guarantee your fitness will improve. You are working different muscles. You're working a lot of the muscles that you need for squash. And then at the end of all of this, I would encourage you to do some core training. I have a complimentary core training program on my website. You can sign up for it. You get 5 free videos. It's called the Pro Core Life Challenge. You get 5 free videos over 5 days. You can follow that and get amazing core work. If you want the whole gamut, well, you can purchase the abduction core training program that I created. It has several levels of several different types of training programs. It's very thorough, and it is very, very athletic and sports specific. The last level is actually very intense. I don't even know if I can do it properly right now because I haven't had the opportunity to train my core with that rigor recently. So that's another option available for you guys. And then you're probably asking or wondering about static stretching, sitting there or standing here and just holding the quad stretch, for example, or standing here, reaching down and stretching on my hamstrings, for example. If you want, there's no harm in doing that. If it makes you feel good, do it. What a lot of recent research has shown is that it actually doesn't do that much from a scientific perspective. But that being said, if it's part of your routine, it's something you enjoy, it makes you feel better psychologically and even physically, keep doing it. I'm not going to prescribe any specific static stretches. The one that I will say is definitely stretch out your hip flexor so you can keep your back knee on the ground. And then I'll teach you this. There's like a 3-step way of doing this optimally. You want to fire your glute. So squeeze the glute of the same leg, which knee is on the ground. And then you can reach forward a little bit after squeezing the glute, and then put the same hand up on the side for which your knee is down and lean in the other direction. So let's do this step by step. Left leg is forward, right knee is on the ground. I squeeze my right glute. I lean forward, I put my right hand up in the air, and I lean to my left side. You're gonna feel a killer stretch in this hip flexor. Hold that for however long you want, 20, 30, 60 seconds, minute and a half. Once you finish one side, make sure you do the other side. That is one stretch I will always encourage. Other than that, if you like certain lower back stretches, if your lower back is tight, do what works for you or what you need. If you have any questions, let me know. So folks, I hope you get a lot of value. I hope you try all of these things out. The clinics starting Saturday, June 19th, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be focused on movement first, after a dynamic warm-up, and then fitness. I think you guys are gonna get a ton of value. If you enjoyed this video and you thought this was valuable, you're gonna love that, because then I can actually coach you in a small group setting. Sign up for it. The details are all in the description below this video. Take care. Thank you for your continued support. I hope that you enjoy this offering and this session and many others to come as much as I have. Make sure you hydrate yourself when you finish this, and I'll see you in the next video.